Okay, it is 7 o'clock, and I'm going to call to order the Tewksbury Finance Committee meeting for Monday, January 31st, 2022. We're going to continue our reviews of the budgets. Which one should we start with, Richard?
Let's just start with the assessors.
Assessors. Oh yeah, and I'll share. Let me get pull that up. Assessors. Sorry. Screen two. All right. Am I successfully sharing?
Sure.
Yep.
Right.
Once you go to the budget summary page.
Oh yeah, I'm on the wrong page. There we go.
All right, I'll hand it over to Joanne Foley, the Chief Assessor.
Welcome, Joanne.
Hi, thanks. Actually pretty straightforward. I have pretty much everyone this year with a step increase. Myself and the assistant assessors increased start at the beginning of the fiscal year. And then the head accounting clerk starts in September, and then January, the senior account clerk. And the only other difference with salary is the head account clerk was a partial longevity last year, and this year will be a full year of longevity increase on that. And then under repairs and maintenance, that increased a little bit to cover an annual service that we'll be putting on the machine that's housed in our office that's used by about 4 departments or so to stuff envelopes and do mailings. And then under professional services, we were able to remove the cloud backup service because we upgraded the system last year to be hosted on their cloud. Our data is now hosted on their cloud, so we got rid of that backup service, which we no longer need. But the software and support prices for professional services increased pretty much for everything. And we added the ability to do a couple of personal property audits, which should be helpful to us. And then office supplies increased due to, we have a new copy machine lease, which was minimal, and staff development increased because myself and the assistant assessor are required to take a USPAP training course for our certification for this coming budget. And pretty much everything else remained the same.
All right. Thank you. I'll open it up for questions now. Mr. Christian, do you have any questions?
No questions, Mr. Chairman.
All right. Mr. Asdavorian?
No questions. This is fairly straightforward.
Mr. Cook?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have no questions.
Okay. Mr. Russo?
Yeah, no, I appreciate it, Joanne. This is very helpful and pretty well laid out, and so no questions on my end.
All right. And Mr. Lavasier? Did he go? Is he here?
Yep, he's here.
Rich L.
Oh, sorry, I was muted. Sorry, I'm late. I was just wondering how long the lease on the copier is.
It's a 5-year lease.
And we're into year
1.
Okay, so brand new. Okay, thanks.
Mhm.
I think I hit everybody right. So I just had in your summary and some of the priorities that are unfunded. There was some talk about automating some data or a feed into the department permits software. Did you have a approximate cost that would be?
We don't yet. We need to do some analysis on exactly how the feed would work and what it will require us to get there, but it's definitely something that would be beneficial, I think, in the long run, but it needs more analysis with that system. It basically would pull from the building permitting system, which they've only been using for not a long period of time. So I think once that's sort of more stabilized, we'll be able to do some better analysis and get some projected cost on that.
Okay, yeah, I think that would be interesting to know, like what the cost would be, and the benefits seem obvious, but depends on what cost, right?
Right.
I have no other questions at this time, so I think that's it for that one.
Thank you.
Thank you. What do we want to move on to?
Let's do the treasurer collector budgets.
Treasurer, you said?
Treasurer collector, yep.
There you go. Behind this window. That's unclassified. Oops. Sorry, I'm having some. There we go. It's hiding behind another window. I think that's the one. Yes. Yes. All right. Sorry.
I'll turn it over to Kelly Odoms, the treasurer collector, to go through our budget.
Excellent. Welcome, Kelly.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, good. There's not a whole lot going on in my budget that's changed from previous year. Just I have a step for each one of my staff members. Everything else is pretty much level funded from years before, so I don't have a whole lot of changes to report. Or any, really, other than I think I had a small increase in dues.
Right. Yeah, it looks pretty similar. Maybe a little reduction in professional services and just the step increases, right?
Yeah,
Okay. Does anybody have any questions on this one?
I don't.
Nothing on my end.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Just one quick question. What was the reduction in professional services?
That was the training, Kelly, for the payroll.
okay, yeah, that's right.
At special town meeting, we added some money for training and backup for payroll, and we reduced that.
Thank you. That was the only question I had.
Thank you.
Okay. We going on to the unclassified one now?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yes.
Let me drag that over if it will behave. Here we go. All righty.
So this budget is mainly fixed costs that we have. The non-exempt principal debt is for the debt service payments for principal for outstanding debt that the town has. I sent the debt schedule to the committee this past week. The exempt principal and the exempt interest is for our exempt debt that was voted by the and approved by the residents for projects that are outside of Proposition 2.5. On the non-exempt debt and principal and the non-exempt debt interest, there is a new project included. That's for the DPW and school maintenance facility. Included in that debt is a $25 million bond issue payment for principal and interest. The funding that's included in those two line items is for borrowing $25 million to construct and renovate the DPW facility, DPW school facility, and the bond issue would not take place until after the October special town meeting, which at that time we would bring an authorization request forward at town meeting. If it's approved, then obviously we'll borrow the money and the payments would start after that. It's a 20-year borrowing. Interest rate is around 3%. That's the projection. Hopefully it's lower than that based on how interest rates are, but that's what we're projecting now. And again, it's for a $25 million borrowing, and that's built into the non-exempt principal and non-exempt interest debt. The Middlesex retirement assessment, that's the assessment that Middlesex has provided to us for FY 23. That's for the retirement assessment of town employees. Medicare tax is the Medicare tax portion for that the town needs to pay. That's based on payroll. And then our other post-employment benefits, the OPEB benefits, that's what we pay each year towards our unfunded liability. And that's it.
All right, thank you. I'll go around. There with Mr. Christian, any questions?
No questions, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Asnavorian?
Richard, from time to time, you've been able to renegotiate some debt. Is there any opportunity coming up on that?
So what we'll do when we prepare to go out to borrow for our next authorization, no matter what it is, we always look at our existing debt to see if we can refinance it based on the way the debt's structured and the agreements we have in place. And if we can, and if we believe the interest rates will be better, we will do that. But we can only do it when we're going back out with a bond issue. It's usually the best time to do it. So to answer your question in short, we'll definitely look at that.
Thank you, Richard. That was all, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, Mr. Cook?
At this time, Mr. Chairman, thank you.
Okay, Mr. Russo?
No questions, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
And Mr. Lavasier?
No questions.
Okay, and I don't have any either. Okay,
Great. Move on to the accountant.
yeah. See if I can find that one. Go. Oh, man, I think everyone's gonna do that. Okay,
I'll turn it over to Al. There you go.
all right, well,
Everybody,
Al,
mine's pretty straightforward also. The increase in salaries, excuse me, are due to step increases within the accounting department. The rest of the budget's level funded, except for the Munis software line, that's up about 3.5%, and that's due to contractual increase for fiscal 23. So overall, the budget is up slightly, and it's mostly driven by that Munis software line.
all right. Pretty straightforward. Anybody have any questions on this one?
Mr. Chair, the only question I had was, I noticed that the finance director position is vacant. Are there plans to fill that vacancy over the course of the following fiscal year, or is that just going to remain vacant at this time?
That's going to remain vacant at this time. And we'll see where we are down the road, but no plans in the next fiscal year to do anything with that.
Okay, thank you.
And do you feel like part-time Ron is sort of filling in the gaps we need there?
Part-time Ron has worked out great. Hasn't he? Al?
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
All right. It's working out well for him as far as he's concerned too. I take it.
Yeah, I think it works well for him. He reviews a lot of things for me. I know if Al has any questions, he responds on a timely basis there. He's at his own pace. So I'm sure at some point he's going to tell us to leave him alone, but right now he's not.
Well, that's good. Anybody else have any questions on the accounting budget?
I have 3 questions, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Cook, please.
Through you to Richard. Richard, I see our new website is up.
Yes.
Has the auditor's report been complete?
We're just finalizing it. I think Al, we're waiting for the management letter.
Yep, so we have final financial statements, but we are still waiting on the final management letter. We hope to
And
have that shortly.
once we get that, Tom, we'll put it on the website as we normally do.
Okay. My second question is, who is our finance director now?
So that position, the full-time position is vacant. Ron Florino, who was the previous finance director, has stayed on for the last few years part-time to assist us. So there really is no formal finance director. The finance departments report directly to me.
Oh, essentially, you're the director.
I guess they reporting. I wouldn't say I'm the finance director, but the finance departments do report to me. And it's worked out.
If you have a lot of questions from Mr. Rigo, you must be the finance director.
No, I don't. I actually do. I actually ask Al all the questions.
Yeah. By the way, Al, thank you for the quarterly report on revenue. Thank you.
Pleasure.
That's all my questions, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Anyone else? Questions?
This is Rich L. I just have a question on staff development. Did we utilize the total amount last year?
From my understanding, due to COVID, we weren't able to travel to our certifications and our MMA classes. From what I understand, they're still on deciding if it's going to be in person or remote with Omicron raging. So you might see that line have a surplus again, just due to the nature of being able to travel or have classes in person. So that's sort of where we're at. We're trying to do as much online training as we can. We try to do as much in-person training as folks will allow us, but a lot of that was canceled recently, and it's really up in the air for March, the last time I checked, which is about a few weeks ago.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So I had a question on one of your priorities, unfunded priorities, around Munis PACE training. Right. So the total cost you had here was like 14,500 or something. And in the Munis budget line, there is a 7,000 or something support. I didn't know if you could use, if you use all that, or if that could be somehow used for training. And then
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I wanted more additional funding for training if it was available. We're going through an upgrade right now, so there is training dollars available. And I think given other departments' priorities, it's not prudent for us to invest in that, where I do have some training dollars available. So we'll see how we are doing over the next 6 months as we process the upgrade and do data validation and see how the new system responds. So that line might not be needed at all, in which that would go back into the general fund or be redeployed somewhere else where it's needed.
Okay. Yeah. Obviously, if we put an upgraded system in there, we want people to be able to use it properly. Right.
Yeah, there's plenty of resources now, and we just, it was sort of our wish list, and that was something I had if there was funding available. But again, like everything else in the budget, if we don't use it, we redeploy it. And right now, it doesn't make sense for us to allocate those dollars.
Okay, thank you. Anybody have anything else, or we move on to the next one? On to the next one.
I will go to computer services. Jamie
Sounds
Bent.
good. Thanks, Al. And welcome, Jamie. And let me find the budget here. Sorry, having technical difficulties tonight. Oh.
All right, Jamie, I'll turn it over to you. I think you're on mute.
Yeah.
Jamie, you're on mute.
How's that better?
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. So for salaries, there was a step increase for myself. And then we did add a full-time computer specialist. So that position is temporarily filled with a contractor right now, but that position is available now, which is great for me because we certainly needed that help. Moving on to the leases and contracts line. There was some changes here due to the fact that we rolled out Office 365. We migrated from our hosted Exchange server with Edition Networks. So there was some slight increases because we had to use money to implement that rollout, and then the actual cost increased because of the fact that we need to license every single email account now. Prior to this, the fire department and police staff got a free ride with the portal web-based email that was provided with Edition Networks, but those are no longer free accounts. So there is a slight increase there. Maintenance account has stayed level funded. Professional services, where we have this cybersecurity initiative, and we've discussed Richard put $30,000 into that line to basically come up with a program, an audit of our current network and technology and see where we're at. And then what we're considering, we're hoping anyways, after this year, that'll at least drop down to 30 to 20,000 after we get the initial audit done. But we're exploring all our options right now. We haven't committed to anything. The office supply account stayed the same, along with the computer supply account. And then we're still doing the same thing we've been doing in the previous years with the computer equipment. We're doing the fire department this year. Next year, we'll be targeting senior center and some of the DPW. Then moving on to software, that stayed the same as well. Dues and membership has stayed the same. Staff development is level funded, and along with PC maintenance. I'm sorry, I came back around. Yeah, so everything else aside from the leases and contract and that professional services line are level funded, but there are some big changes since we've implemented quite a few things in the last really few months. We did the Office 365 rollout, along with upgrading our Active Directory server, a file server. The firewall itself was replaced. We moved to a Sonic wall. We implemented a Carbonite backup server that has a built-in cloud disaster recovery service with it. And then we just rolled out the new town website, as you know, today. That was turned on or unveiled. So there was a lot of changes the last 3 or 4 months. Trying to play catch up at this point myself, but a lot of good things have happened, and we're moving in a good direction.
All right, thank you. I'll go around. Did Jason still
No
here?
questions,
Oh, there you
Mr.
are. Sorry. Mr. Asnavorian.
Jamie, no
Yes.
specific questions on your budget. I'm a little surprised to actually see it go down. Being an IT guy myself, I'm always increasing my budget. But from the standpoint of you listed off some beautiful things that have been accomplished. Is there any chance that you could kind of summarize bullet points of the things that have been accomplished over the last year and some things you have on your roadmap for the next fiscal year?
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, we did the Office 365 rollout, which I'm sure a couple of you are familiar with. At the very least, it's pretty popular. You know, we obviously have, the team meetings built into that OneDrive. one of the things I'd love to do is get some real training, not just web-based. I'd like to actually bring in a couple of people to do some training with the staff on that, just to provide a better glimpse of what's available to them, because we're not really touching on what's available. You know, everybody's using the email, which of course that's the, you know, the primary function of it, but there's so many things built into that suite that I really love to see that get explored and used more. And I think we can do that with training. The other things, and do you have any questions on that part?
No. And in particular, anything that you're doing about cyber attacks.
Yeah, so we did, we put the Carbonite backup server in place, which has our, you know, the cloud disaster recovery services built into it. Basically, we can, you know, we can do a recovery from the cloud. We've backed up the images of our servers on-site, off-site. I have, you know, the 2-3-2-1 backup plan going. The firewall was another huge one where we're kind of moving away from Edition Networks, and which was formerly Merrimack Ed. They were the ones that hosted our email, which kind of kept us tied in with them for a few other things. So we're no longer getting our firewall services through them. So that freed us up to do the Sonic Wall upgrade, which I'm really excited about. I'm digging into that. And I think what I'm going to do is target some of my training over the next year on the Sonic Wall, because there's so much built into that, just one device. You know,
Sure.
the VPN's part of it. There's so many things you can do with it that I really want to, you know, get it set up and tweaked the way I need it. And to do so, I do need some training. So those are the two biggest things as far as hardware goes: the Carbonite server, the firewall, and then to, you know, do the Office 365 upgrade. I did need to upgrade our Active Directory server, so we're running Server 2019. We put our file server on a VMware virtual server with the AD server replicating on that same VN. We got the Laserfish server going on another part of that VM. We got about 4 different servers on one VM, and I'm building another VM that I might put over at the new fire department to replicate back and forth.
Right.
And then, you know, stream stuff up into the cloud. The Carbonite stuff is going to grow, and that can scale up with everything, which is nice. So those are the basics. Now, we also talked about the $30,000 that Richard and we discussed adding to the budget, and we're exploring the best way to use that, because there's so many different things going on now with cybersecurity. It's like everybody's jumping into that, and you just I just want to be careful about which way we go with it, and make sure we're going to get the best bang for our buck and do the right thing. And I think that would start with which we've discussed in the past, of nice, you know, a good penetration test and just an evaluation of the whole topology.
Yeah, it's getting more and more critical that I feel it myself right now, the pressure for cybersecurity. So you're doing the right thing.
You can't get through the news without seeing something. So it's definitely very important. One of the selectmen is heavy on that, and he's kind of been getting involved with it with us and advising us on some of the things we could do. So based on all that, we're definitely going to be putting together a plan this year, and at least a plan and see where we stand as far as the hardware goes and software, and see where our weak points are, and try to, you know, basically solidify anything that we find. I'm doing that along the way, you know, so my goal is, you know, obviously like any network manager, you don't want to have anything wrong with your network, but the reality is there's holes everywhere, and there's new ones every day.
Yep.
So, you know, I'm doing my best to, you know, do the common sense things, you know, the 2-factor authentication on all the servers, just all the things like that, password complexity, you know, requirements. I'm beefing all that stuff up as we go. So, and then, you know, the website was a nice upgrade. I think that it looks a lot nicer. It's a good presentation for the town. And I think it's easier to navigate, I think, for seniors and anyone going to that site. It's a lot better layout. So I think that's appealing to anyone that's going to use it. And there was a lot of help behind that. I really wasn't that involved with it. I had so many of these other things going on. So there was a lot of assistance with Denise Graffio and Alex Louder and Richard, and everybody jumped in and helped out with that, which was great. So that's the basics of the hardware stuff that we did as far as cybersecurity. And then, like I said, we're working on that other piece to try to really get an overview of where we need to go.
And just if I can jump in quickly, even though this budget at the moment has gone down, as Jamie said, we are going through things, especially in regard to cybersecurity. So we could be coming back and asking for more money.
Thank you, Richard. Thank you, Jamie. That's all I had, Mr. Chairman.
All right, thanks. Mr. Cook?
Just one question for Jamie. How long has the contractor specialist, computer specialist been on board?
How long is the current one I have?
Yeah,
He's been with us about a year now. He's great. He's very, he's absorbing everything and the training's going well. But the problem with him is, unfortunately, he's got a programming degree and I think he's going to move on. So I just have to be realistic with what I can expect out of him for longevity. And I think I'm going to end up hiring someone else in the long run. I want someone that wants to, stick the job out and grow with the job, rather than someone that's just going to, look for another job while they're here, which anybody with a programming degree is going to. I just took what I could get at the point. It was in the middle of the pandemic, and he's worked out very well, though. I'm very pleased with him, and there's really nothing I've thrown at him that he can't figure out, which is nice.
well, I was just curious, Jamie, that you used the word temporary contractor specialist.
Yeah, he is, because we haven't hired him on a full-time basis, but that position is now available as of this past fall to be a full-time permanent position, which is great. So now I can, appeal to someone with the benefits and, make the job a little bit more appealing to someone coming on.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Hey, Mr. Russo?
Actually, Jamie just answered the question, Mr. Cook's question, so thank you.
All right, and Mr. Lavasier?
Thank you, Jamie. No plans on moving to Windows 11, right?
No, well, we're gonna have to do something, obviously, but we just finished the rollout to Windows 10, so I forget what the retirement date of that is, but I know it's again right around the corner. So, have you played with Windows 11 yet yourself, or?
No, I put it off as long as I can.
Yeah, it's frustrating that I'm just finishing up Windows 10 and here we go again, but it's just part of the game. Microsoft's going to move a few menus around and make us all buy more stuff.
Right, because some of our hardware won't be compliant.
Yeah, they're doing that with the CPUs and everything.
Yep.
Exactly. Unfortunately, like that happened to me with a couple of servers. Like I had some good servers, but the processors wouldn't work with like even server 2016. So they're basically, boat anchors at this point. And it's frustrating because you're tossing hardware, and that makes obviously going to, cloud services more appealing because you're not wasting as much money on hardware.
Right. Okay, thank you. That was all.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Yeah, and I don't have any additional questions, so thank you, Jamie. For presenting.
Okay, thank you.
Want to go to facilities and grounds?
Sure.
Okay, so this budget also doesn't have any major changes. Vinnie Bolmo is the facilities director. Staff, there's 3 staff members within the department, include in addition to Vinnie. They've had step increases and their cost of living included in the full-time salaries. We just had someone leave, so we brought on a new person that's within this budget. So that the full-time salary line is pretty straightforward. The operating expenses, utilities, is going up a little bit just based on our, previous years' costs. A lot of that's based on the use at the fields and the facilities that the facilities and ground staff work out of. There's the recreation building, there is a building where they house equipment, and then there's the another facility where they work out of. And then the utilities also pay for all the lights down at Livingston. Under repairs and maintenance, this is for general repairs and maintenance of buildings. This is in addition to the maintenance that each of the departments have within their budgets. This supplements any special projects that take place or emergencies that might come up that departments did not fund within their budgets. This is level funded to FY22. When you look at FY21, the reason why that was so high, that's when COVID expenses hit us, and we did a lot of work internally at buildings to provide safeguards for staff at open counters. Leases and contracts went up a little bit, mainly in the area of contract mowing. We contract out mowing of the fields, town building grounds. We have a historic cemetery that we take care of. And we've projected a 4% increase to that contract. All the other line items within this budget stay the same, with the exception of maintenance of memorials increased. These are actual costs to maintain the memorials throughout the town. This is something that we only budgeted a small amount for the a couple of the memorials at the town common. Now in the budget are all the memorials we have within the town to maintain them and clean them on an annual basis. All other supplies, this is paint for the fields and equipment and supplies for the department was level funded. And capital outlay, there's nothing requested in FY23, FY22. We had requested funds for a new lawnmower and replacing a four-wheel drive off-road vehicle that was purchased this year. But there's nothing within the capital outlay budget that's requested by facilities. There will be items within the capital budget that I'll present in a few weeks that they'll request. And that's it.
Okay. We'll go around. Mr. Christian.
No questions, Mr. Chairman.
All right. Mr. Asnavorian.
Richard, on the repairs and maintenance, with it kind of going level funded like that, we don't have any buildings that need any serious repair right now, or would you be handling that in another way outside of this budget with what you're calling normal repairs and maintenance?
Yeah, so any major repairs to buildings will come under the capital budget. We'll fund those within that budget. I'm not sure if FY23 will have anything major coming forward, but there are in the out years renovations at the North Street Fire Station, the South Street, the library, things like that. These are for the normal everyday items that might come up in a given year that, we didn't plan for. A heating system maybe that needs repair, that a department, put in their budget enough that they believe could get them through the year, but something unique comes up. This budget helps supplement that. And this also takes care of not just the buildings, but anything down in there at any of our ball fields, stuff like that.
Thank you. And my second question is there kind of an outline of a plan for reviewing the buildings and the shape that they're in?
I can have the facilities manager put that together. He did something for me in the previous years, and I'll have one put together.
Thank you. That's all my questions, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Mr. Cook?
Just a question for thought. Richard, as you know, we're going to be demolishing the center school this summer. And in that school, there's a relatively 10-year-old boiler, 12-year-old boiler. Are we going to try to recover that? For the town?
Yep, we did, Tom, we did talk about that. Dave, Libby and I did talk about that. I forget what the final decision was, but I'll check on that and get back to you.
Okay, because we probably could use it elsewhere, especially if we decide to retain the fire station for temporary use.
I can look into that.
Yeah, and the other thing is the other equipment within that school that we may be able to, once that school is turned over to the town, I think the school committee has to vote on that before we demolish it. If there's other equipment in there that we may be able to recover for resale.
Sure, I can check on that with Dave, Libby.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Mr. Russo?
Hey, Richard, just a question. It's not really, actually, it's more about, I had a conversation with Vinny, I think when I was in your office last week about some of the work down at the Livingston, specifically the football field and whatnot. So I don't know if he has talked to you more about that, or in terms of some capital outlay dollars potentially, or if it would be hitting someplace else, or if it wouldn't be hitting anywhere at all, for that matter.
So the one specific item we did talk about were the bleachers.
Yeah.
And he was getting prices for replacing the bleachers that the two of you discussed, and that would be brought forward in the capital plan.
Okay. Yeah, and I did provide him some pricing on that. He said he was going to do a little investigating it himself as well, and hopefully reach out, if needed.
Yep, right now his capital plan that we'll bring forward includes, he's going to look at the bleachers that you discussed with him, a total renovation and refurbishing of the skateboard park, and a vehicle to replace one of the vehicles that he has at the within facilities and grounds that just isn't big enough to do some of the work we need done.
Okay, great. Thank you.
That cover you, Rich?
Yes, it does. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Lavasier?
Yes, I had two questions. I'll go on the center school first, along the lines of what we might be able to either give away or let organizations take. People are always looking for old bricks to match. That's an old building, and they don't make bricks like that anymore. So if any organizations are looking for that sort of thing, here, take as many as you want. You're just responsible for lugging them away. That might be something we could do. And the second question was around the rec center on Livingston Street. Could you, assuming you'll, Richard, I'm assuming you'll include that building in the report of that's at home too.
Yeah, they'll definitely be included in the report. That's a building we're looking at. We have funding to replace windows. We're looking at replacing doors, improving the envelope of that building. It really needs to be, new ceiling tiles inside, things like that, but that'll definitely be part of the report.
Thank you.
Okay, and I just wanted to ask Richard, the bump in repairs and maintenance for FY21 you mentioned was COVID related and everything. Were those expenses reimbursable?
We did get reimbursed for most of the expenses.
Okay.
I have a report that I'll be sending off in regard to FEMA and CARES reimbursement that we received. And but yeah, we received early on, we received reimbursement for a lot of the work we did.
Okay, that's what I thought, but I just wanted to make sure. All right, I think we're good with facilities.
Okay. Veterans.
Sure.
So again, this is a pretty straightforward budget. The veteran salaries include the veterans agent and a senior clerk. Step increases and the cost of living are included in the full-time budget that's being presented. The operating has been level funded. This is a budget that, is dependent on the number of claims that we get within the town. So as you can see, each year it fluctuates, again, depending on the number of claims. The medical line item pays for prescriptions, hospital bills, and co-pays for veterans and their surviving spouses. That's being level funded. Again, as you can see, in FY21, we didn't expend as much as what we had budgeted, but in FY20 and 19, it was a little higher than what we spent in FY21. Office supplies is level funded. That's the office supplies for the budget. All other supplies, there is a software that the Veterans Department uses called Retrospect, and that's a software license for that allows them to file claims within the department. It's a claims management software. Flags, this budget went up a little bit based on the cost of flags for Memorial Day and for veterans' graves. We get this reimbursed from the Division of Veteran Services, upwards of 75%. Decorations, this helps purchase decorations for Veterans Day, Memorial Day, and any other holiday events and miscellaneous supplies that they have. Covers things like wreaths, ribbons, flowers, pins that we give out on Veterans Day, gift bags, which we gave out on Veterans Day. When we have a Veterans Breakfast, it will pay for those items, and just various events during the holiday season. Travel, this pays for any travel by the Veterans agent outside of the town for any conferences or training. Dues and memberships, the membership for the Mass Veteran Services Officers Association and the New England membership. Veterans Aid, this is an item that, again, we've seen a great deal of fluctuation. This is the aid that we pay to veterans of lower income, that are lower income veterans, they're surviving spouses and dependents that qualify for the program. The financial aid is for items such as food, shelter, clothing, medical care, any burial expenses for veterans and their dependents. As the committee knows, if you look back even prior to 2019, we spent close to the $324,000 over the past couple of years because claims were less than we've had in the past. We haven't spent as much, but we really just don't know on an annual basis what type of claims we're going to get in. Staff development, training and conferences stayed the same, and then there's nothing under capital outlay. So just in closing on this budget, this was one of the budgets that obviously when you look at it, you think to yourself that it could be reduced, but it's not something we want to adjust at this time because we want to get an idea of what is trending as far as claims are concerned. I don't know over the past couple of years where benefits, because of federal government spending more on a variety of benefits for individuals that were out of work, have helped reduce our claims or offset our claims. But we're just going to wait another year or two before we make any adjustments to this area. Another thing, we have a group coming into town, planning to come into town called Soldier On. They're going to be putting, I believe, 21 units for homeless veterans at a facility on Main Street, which is a great program and a great operation. But we're not sure if the veterans that live there will get benefits from us. So kind of holding out to see how that works. So this budget is pretty straightforward and level funded from the previous year or previous years.
Okay. Mr. Christian, any questions?
No questions, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Asnavorian?
Richard, do we have any kind of stats from the veterans agents on how many veterans we have in town, how many claims they have open, just anything that would help give some insight into what's going on?
Yes, I think she provided them last year, and I'll get them again this year. I thought they were in the budget, but they're not.
Appreciate that.
Yep.
That's all, Mr. Chairman.
I think we run around, on high years, we ran around 50 claims maybe for one of the programs, and it varies, but I'll get you those numbers.
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Cook.
None at this time.
All right, Mr. Russo.
No questions, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Lassier.
No questions, Mr. Chair.
Okay, and I don't have any either.
The last budget's town hall.
Where are you? Okay.
Okay, so this budget has one full-time individual. It's a custodian that takes care of the town hall annex, and the DPW. The expenses that are paid through the town hall are energy and utilities for the town hall annex, and the center fire station. That'll change once the new fire station is up and running. We'll end up turning over the utility costs for the center fire station over to the fire department. The reason why we pay for their utilities under this budget is because when they did the town hall renovations and put the new transformer in for the town hall, they could only put 1 meter in for the entire complex. So the center fire station had to come out of that meter. Non-energy utilities, this is the phone bill for pretty much all the town departments. These are the Verizon lines and long distance lines through our broadband communications phone system for all departments, with the exception of the library, schools, and water department. They pay for their own. And it also pays for cell phones for all town departments, with the exception of the police, schools, and water department. Repairs and maintenance, this is just general maintenance of both the annex and the town hall. Take care of any inspections that we have within the buildings, such as the elevator and any other fire alarm inspections for the town hall and the annex, and any other general maintenance of the buildings. Rentals and leases, these are for a Pitney Bowes machine within the town manager's office, a copy machine at the town manager's office, a postage meter, alarm monitoring, and elevator, the phone in the elevator, $136 a month. All other, this is just paper products for the buildings, both buildings, such as cleaning supplies for the restrooms, plastic bags, just general custodial supplies, toner and paper for our copier. And then nothing under capital outlay. And that's it.
All right. Go around, Mr. Christian,
No questions, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Asnavorian.
Just one question of curiosity. Richard, repairs and maintenance took a dip last year, and now it's kind of back up to where it normally is. I was just wondering why. I mean, it looks like an increase, but it's really, when you look year over year, it's kind of where it should be.
Yeah, I mean, we've had some, I think we had some plumbing issues that we had to deal with in the previous years. They also had a heating issue they had to deal with in the previous years. And just based on the age of the annex and just general maintenance of the town hall, I just bumped it just based on what we've seen.
Okay, that was my only question, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, it was just unique things that happened in FY20 and 21.
Gotcha.
Okay. But your real question was like, why was it lower budgeted in 22, right?
Yeah,
current
and kind of explain that is that there were unique things in that particular year why they didn't need to spend it.
Yeah, and then and when I put the budget down, I thought anything that did take place, we probably had facilities and grounds help us out and pay for. So this year, I said, we are seeing a little bit trend in things that need to be done at the annex and our building. So I just bumped it up a little bit.
Okay. Was that it, Dave?
That was it for me. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Cook?
Down at this time.
None at this time. Okay. Mr. Russo?
Just one question, more for my own knowledge and benefit, I guess. In the leases and contracts line, notice that's come down over the last couple of years, and so it looks like it was sort of a small, 2-year lease of some sorts. You know what that was related to, Richard?
I'd have to go back and see exactly what we did in those years, but there's probably some one-time expenses we had that we paid for.
Okay, but nothing obviously that you foresee, for the upcoming year, of course.
No, I think we've kind of tracked them better as we've gone on.
Okay, all right, appreciate it. Thank you.
Mr. Lassier?
Yes, Richard, I just have a question on the phones. You say we're all Verizon, right?
So we have some Verizon landlines, but we switched our phone system over to Broadview.
Okay, so it's all voice over,
It's all voice over, yep.
Okay, so is the plan to continue that push?
That's our plan to continue in that direction, yes.
Okay, we should be getting rid of copper as much as we can.
There are some Verizon lines we need to keep for faxes, which is somewhat problematic, but there's not as many. And so we are definitely moving away from it.
Okay, thank you.
And on the leases and contracts, I'll go back and double check 20 and 21, but there probably could be some COVID expenses in there also that we may have had.
Okay. Great, thank you.
Okay. Yeah, I have no additional questions. So I think does that do it for the budgets tonight?
That does it.
All right. I do think we have a transfer, correct?
Correct.
I did pull that up somewhere. There we go. I think it was just 2. Yeah. So we have number 8 here.
Yeah, so this is a transfer from part-time salaries to medical supplies in the amount of $7,000 to pay for flu vaccine for the flu clinic this year. Now, the reason why we had excess money in the permanent part-time is because we had gone without a part-time health nurse since July.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions on this transfer?
Motion to accept the transfer.
I'll second.
Jason, Dave with a second. We'll do a roll call vote. Jason, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mr. Asavourian?
Aye.
Mr. Cook?
Aye.
Mr. Russo?
Aye.
Mr. Lavassier?
Aye.
And chair votes aye. Okay, so transfer number 8 is approved. Then we have number 12.
Number 12 is transferring the remaining amount out of the part-time salary to full-time to pay for our share of a full-time nurse that we did hire as part of a regional program that we have at Tingsboro. We received a grant to help pay 50% of a nurse's salary for a full-time nurse to be shared between Tingsboro and Tewksbury. And that amount, since we have to pay it, since it's a full-time person, we need to pay it out of the full-time line. So we transfer the remaining balance of part-time into the full-time salary to help pay for our portion of the grant. So we have a nurse on board. We hired her this past January. She'll work, I believe, 30 hours for us and 10 hours for Tingsboro.
Okay, and at this time, we don't have any need really for the part-time line.
No.
Okay.
No. And I'm going to need to look at this budget before we finalize it. I'll probably have to adjust the salaries in the health budget because of that.
All right. Anybody have any questions on lateral transfer number 12? Amount of $32,435 from health permanent part-time to health permanent full-time.
No, I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion, Jason with a second. Roll call vote. Mr. Christian,
Aye.
Mr. Asnavorian,
Aye.
Mr. Cook,
Aye.
Mr. Russo,
Aye.
Mr. Lavasier,
Aye.
and chair votes aye as well. So that is approved unanimously. I think those were the only two. Am I correct?
That's correct.
All right, good. I was hoping I didn't miss something. Do you have any other business for us, Richard?
Nope. I'm all set. Thanks.
Okay. Any committee member reports? I know we talked about the elementary school building last time. Do you have anything else on that, Tom?
Won't have our next meeting until next week.
Okay. I think you also updated us on the Green Committee as well last week. Any Economic Development Committee,
Negative, Mr. Chairman.
Bylaw Committee?
Negative, Mr. Chairman.
All right. No recording secretary timesheets, no meeting minutes. Anybody got anything else? I'll look for a final motion for this evening.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
We got Rich and then Dave with a second for adjournment. Roll call vote.
Aye.
Mr. Christian. An aye. Mr. Asnavorian.
Aye.
Mr. Cook.
Aye.
Mr. Russo.
Aye.
Mr. Lavasier.
Aye.
And chair votes aye. We are adjourned.
See you guys
Uh,
next week.
Next
Take care,
Next week.
See everyone next week.